Hello, fantastic people of BookTube. My name is Morgan, and I crocheted this sweater. I'm so happy. It's my first large crochet project. I crocheted it just in time for the weather to heat up, so I'm probably not going to get many opportunities to wear it. I thought I would capitalize on the fact that you're all seeing me on YouTube. Please do excuse the little strings hanging out of everywhere. It's not quite done, but I love it. So I am wearing it. In all seriousness though, this is my spring TBR video. This video was inspired by Danny from the Literary Lion YouTube channel because she put out a spring TBR recently in which she discussed 10 books that she wanted to read this spring, and then after that, she would just mood read the rest of the season, which is how I am feeling as well. I am also more of a mood reader, so I don't want to put that pressure on myself to read every single book I've listed, and instead, I'm just going to tell you about some of the books that I'm hoping to read this spring to give myself that accountability to get some reading done, and then I'm going to read whatever else I'm interested in. Most of these books are nonfiction, but I do have some fantasy and some magical realism on this list as well, so stay tuned. We are going to start off with a whole bunch of nonfiction though, because I'm going to be putting out a video, hopefully eventually, about books by runners. So these are some of the books that I plan to read for that. A lot of them are audiobooks, so I can listen to them while I run, so I don't have physical copies, but the first one is Eat and Run, My Unlikely Journey to Ultramarathon Greatness by Scott Jurek. Scott is a vegan, so this is discussing his life as a vegan runner. And then we've got Endure, Mind, Body, and the Curiously Elastic Limits of Human Performance by Alex Hutchinson. In this book, Hutchinson claims that really the limits of human endurance are all mental, including how the brain responds to pain and stress signals from the body, and he reveals how we can train to improve that brain response. The next one is My Year of Running Dangerously by Tom Foreman. As a 50-year-old CNN correspondent, Foreman's daughter asked him if he would like to run a marathon with her, and that sort of changed his life and reignited a passion in him for running long distances, and that's what this book is about. The next one is Runner, the memoir of an accidental ultramarathon champion by Lizzie Hawker. I'm not gonna lie, I mostly want to read this one because the synopsis says that Hawker became the women's world champion for 100 kilometers at the same time as she was finishing her PhD. And I want to embark on distance running training during my PhD. And the final 3 books by runners that I want to read at some point this spring are 50/50 by Dean Karnazes. I read Ultramarathon Man last month and I really enjoyed it. And this book catalogs his having ran 50 marathons in 50 states in 50 consecutive days, which is just mind-blowing, but also it talks about training regimes and different pro tips for runners. I think that this is going to be an invaluable resource as I myself get into running. I'm also really looking forward to Can't Hurt Me by David Goggins. Goggins had a really challenging childhood where he went through poverty, physical abuse, prejudice, and all of that led to depression and weight gain, but he turned it all around in a significant way. He has broken numerous endurance records, and it says he is the only man in history to complete elite training as a Navy SEAL, Army Ranger, and Air Force Tactical Air Controller. So I think that this man has a lot to teach. The last book on running that I want to read, What I Talk About When I Talk About Running by Haruki Murakami. Murakami is actually a fiction writer, and this is his memoir, so I decided I probably shouldn't read it without having read his books. And I also picked up Kafka on the Shore, which I will also be reading alongside What I Talk About When I Talk About Running. I've been really excited to read Kafka on the Shore because I've heard really great things about Murakami. He's many people's favorite author, and Kafka on the Shore is oftentimes people's favorite book by him. So I've been really excited to read it, and then I recently watched a video by Murphy Napier here on BookTube, and she did not give it such a glowing review. And then I also recently saw Casey from Lost in a Bookcase discuss this book with also a pretty negative review. So I'm feeling a little more hesitant about this book, but I still think I will enjoy it. From what I can tell, this has aspects of an Oedipus Rex retelling where Kafka is fulfilling a prophecy and also there are talking cats. Really not sure what I'm getting into. I think this is magical realism. Luckily, I do really like kind of mind-bending fiction. I really like conceptual and metaphorical fiction that you can talk about for hours, that you can just debate and think about literally forever. So if that's what this book is, then I think I will enjoy it. The next book that I would really like to get to this spring is N.K. Jemisin's The Obelisk Gate. This is the second book in the Broken Earth trilogy. I read the 5th season last year, and I don't want to get too far away from the first book before I read the second book, lest I forget everything that happened. From what I remember, the 5th season followed 3 different women as they went through their journeys, and they were all what Jemisin calls origines, which is sort of an oppressed class of citizen because the world is kind of afraid of them because they can move geological structures, I think kind of with their mind. It's not entirely clear, but that is not a critique of the book. It was really excellently done. The first storyline of the 3 that you're following is a woman who has had 2 children and is hiding the fact that she's an origin, but it turns out that her son has powers like her. Everybody is afraid of and hates him. He ends up dying, which sends this woman on a quest to find her daughter because her husband, who discovered that she's an origin, has run off with her. And what's really interesting about that book is that storyline is told in second person, which you do not see that often. So I am looking forward to reading the next book and diving deeper into this woman's story and seeing where her journey will end up. The next 2 books I want to read this spring at some point are both fantasy. They are The Neverending Story and Momo, both by Michael Ende. I read both of these books when I was younger, and I don't remember either of them well enough to give a synopsis, which is why I want to reread them, because I do remember them being excellent works of fiction. The Neverending Story I remember a bit better, of course, because I saw the movie, but the movie actually only covers about half of what this book covers. And Momo I barely remember at all. The only thing I remember is there were these men in gray, and I believe their skin was also gray, and they were very creepy. When I looked on Wikipedia, it says, yes, indeed, there were men in gray, and they have come to save time for the world. And really what that means is that they are stealing time from humankind and saying that they're doing them a favor. So I think I'm actually going to enjoy this one a lot more as an adult anyway, because it sounds pretty allegorical. And the final 3 books that I want to read this spring are all nonfiction again. We have Entangled Life by Merlin Sheldrake. This book asks us to rethink our relationship with fungi, because apparently fungi are almost everywhere in the world, including inside our bodies, and they can do fabulous things like digest plastic and manipulate animal behavior and solve problems without brains, and 90% of their species remains undocumented. I know nothing basically about fungi, so I am fascinated and terribly excited to read this book. In a similar vein, I am also excited to read Braiding Sweetgrass, Indigenous Wisdom, Scientific Knowledge, and the Teachings of Plants by Robin Wall Kimmerer. Kimmerer is a botanist of Potawatomi ancestry, so this book weaves together her science education and her indigenous knowledges that state nature is the best and oldest teacher. With this book, she wants to reawaken our reciprocal understanding of our relationship with nature, so you can understand why I might be pairing together Entangled Life and Braiding Sweetgrass. And the last book I will talk about that I want to read this spring is Adam Grant's new book, 2021 publication, called Think Again: The Power of Knowing What You Don't Know. Last year around this time, I read his book Originals: How Nonconformists Move the World, and I really enjoyed his writing style, so I am looking forward to reading Think Again. I don't know a lot about it. I think it's just about how you can succeed by never being sure of your own knowledge, but let's check it out. In this book, he examines the critical art of rethinking, learning to question your opinions and open other people's minds, which can position you for excellence at work and wisdom in life. I'm sure the content of this book is phenomenal and eye-opening, and I am just looking forward to reading Adam Grant's writing again. So, that is a bunch of the reading that I'm going to be doing this spring. I would love to know some of the books that you plan on reading. Let me know in the comments, and I look forward to discussing all of these books with you in the coming months right here on this channel. So if you want to see me talk about any of these books, feel free to hit the subscribe button, and I will see you in another video.